afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the UPHS Annual Conference Presenter Interview Series. I am your host, Tressetta Alexander, business productivity coach and strategic consultant to solopreneurs, small business owners, nonprofits, and ministries. And today I have with me Miss Joyce Chastain. Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have the opportunity to chat with you. Joyce is again one of the presenters for our annual conference, and she is going to be speaking on who's on the ladder ready for the next step. But before we talk about what you're going to talk about, why don't you introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what you do, and your area of expertise.
Absolutely. I'm with the Krisner Group. We're an employment law firm. My role there is as a senior consultant. We specialize in employment law best practices, compliance assistance. Our goal is to keep our clients out of trouble with a proactive employment law approach. We can certainly help you if you find yourself in a bit of a pickle, but we prefer to help you stay out of trouble. And our goal is to always make sure that our clients are operating all of their personnel practices in a compliant manner and in accordance with what are currently considered to be best practices.
Awesome. So I imagine you have seen a lot over your years of career and have been have led a great deal of people. So tell us a little bit about your topic, this who's on the ladder ready for the next step. Tell us a little bit about it.
So in every organization, succession planning for essential or critical positions is something that it must be done in order for the organization to be viable. Whenever a key figure leaves an organization without a long lead time so that the organization has an opportunity to prepare, it creates a hole, and organizations struggle if a departure is unplanned. Sometimes an unplanned departure is for a good reason. Other times it can be for a bad or a sad reason. But regardless, an organization should be best positioned to know who's going to step in the event of an absence. Sometimes those absences are just for a period of time. We're coming out of a situation, hopefully coming out of a situation with COVID-19, which has made succession planning ever more important. A spotlight has been shined on it for sure because of people having to work remotely, people having to quarantine, people who have succumbed to the virus. And so never before has it been more important for all organizations. It is especially critical for nonprofit organizations where people are more often required to wear multiple hats, required to know more than just one siloed function. So creating a strategic succession plan is made up of several component parts, but the first thing you have to do is determine which functions absolutely have to be filled. Succession plans aren't also limited to people. Mm-hmm. There are things that must be completed within the organization. There's knowledge that one person may have that's not related to a specific function or responsibility or duty within the organization, but it could be something as as benign or as simple as knowing where things are located within the organization, knowing where files are, knowing where the passwords are saved, knowing where the checkbook is located or where the signature cards for a banking account are located, even knowing where the accounts within a bank are located. So there are things that key positions in an organization have knowledge of, that also needs to be shared, that also needs to be part of a fully functioning succession plan. We'll cover all of that in this session.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It is, I have experienced, and I'm sure most of us have experienced at one point or another in our career where you have a person leave from your organization or company. And while you have a person who can take over that responsibility, there's kind of those unspoken things, those things that knowledge, like you said, that benign knowledge that they have that walks out the door with them that no one really thinks about asking about. And then you're in a panic trying to figure out how to do something or where something is. There's no real true like standardized process or protocol for different things within the organization. So yeah, I can imagine that that's extremely frustrating. What do you go ahead.
Some of those items, like you just referenced, may only be needed once a year or maybe once a quarter. So it doesn't even bubble up to be a known gap, right, until the person may have been gone for quite a while.
Right, absolutely. What do you see the most common avoidable mistake, if you will, that organizations make when it comes to succession?
Organizations believe that their key people will be there forever. That's the biggest mistake. So they don't plan for their departure because they don't believe the departure will occur.
Wow, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. Why do you think that is?
Generally, it's because the person's been there for a long time. No one is foreseeing a time when that person won't be there. It could be one of the founders of the organization. It could be the executive director that's been there for 20 years, and maybe that person is 15 years, 20 years away from retirement still. And so no one is thinking long term that there could be so they're thinking they have 15 years, 20 years to worry about this. Right. Not thinking that there could be something unforeseen occur.
Right, absolutely. So thinking about your session, what is the number one takeaway that you'd really like attendees to take action on when they leave your session?
We walk through the steps of creating a succession plan, and one of those steps is a skills inventory, and that is an opportunity for the leaders in the organization to learn what skills their employees may have that would translate into another position within the organization. Oftentimes, leaders don't fully understand, know, or appreciate that their employees have a whole nother set of skills other than the ones for which they were hired within the organization. Employees are complex. Skills can be obtained through volunteer activities outside of the workplace that are very valuable but unknown to the employer because they are not in alignment with the role that the person currently fills. So doing a skills inventory allows an employer to know that someone, let's just say you've got someone who's working in a marketing role where Microsoft Excel may not be necessary or used, but that person in a volunteer role outside of the workplace has developed strong Excel skills. Well, that could be meaningful to that employer as they're trying to develop a succession plan, but they may not know that exists. So in my opinion, every employer should do a skills inventory of their employees about every 2 or 3 years. We'll talk about how you develop that inventory document and how you go about administering that and collecting the data.
I want to kind of bring another perspective, or kind of, well, let me first share my personal opinion, and then we can talk about it. I personally believe that as a leader, as a manager, that it is a honor to have my employees to be promoted, or dare I say recruited away from my organization, because I have done things to help them grow and develop. But of course, we want to, we would love to keep people in our organizations for a long period of time. But one thing that I personally have noticed, and I know not all organizations are this way, but I think that a lot of times we fail to find out from our employees what their career goals are and see how they might be able to fulfill that with our organization so that we can keep that longevity. Is that something that you have seen as well?
Yes, and I tell employers this all the time. Your high performing employees are either going to move up within your organization or they're going to move out of it. So we have to create opportunities for those high performing employees, and having a formalized succession plan provides to those high performing employees a kind of a roadmap of where
Right.
we see them going. So if they know that they are a part of your long-term succession plan, they're more likely to stay with you in anticipation of that opportunity, as opposed to exploring external opportunities.
Right. Absolutely. It's so much better for not only the continuity within your organization, but also to your bottom line, to retain those high performing employees, because the opportunity, the cost of replacing, dare I say, an employee is so much greater, and that timeline to bring that new person up to speed, really, it's much longer than I think we think it is.
It is. And one of the things that is rarely captured when you look at the cost of turnover, we don't always consider the institutional knowledge that is lost when a key position becomes vacant. So yes, far better to keep the good ones than to try and find a replacement and replace all of the things that the good ones take when they go.
Right. Oh yes, that's a whole nother conversation. Well, this has really been a really good conversation that we're having, and I think it's really crucial, especially like you mentioned, kind of at the offset for nonprofit organizations, because we're forced to work with little, right? So we have to really stretch our resources, and our human resources are one of our most important assets that we have, and definitely there's many hats that various people play within our organization. So this is a really valuable conversation that needs to be had. So before we close out, I want to just encourage those of you who are watching, if you have not already registered for our annual conference, go ahead. I've included the link in the post description. You can just click on that and head right on over and get registered right now. We have 3 registration options. You can register for 1 day, 2 days, or get the all access pass, which is what we're recommending, because you can actually get access to all 4 tracks for the first day and both tracks for the second day, and go back and review it over and over again, so that you can be refreshed and be reminded of the information that was shared there. So go ahead, click that link in the post description and register. If you want to register your team of 5 people or more, we do offer a discount for teams. Just go ahead and put in the comments all access pass, or email us, and we will be happy to assist you with that process. Joyce, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I'm looking forward to your session.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to it as well.
And I also want to say thank you to you and the Krisner Group for being a conference supporter. You are one of the sponsors for the conference, and we really appreciate you and your organization.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
All right. Well, I will be right back here at 1 o'clock for another presenter interview. I'll be interviewing Dan McGrew. So head right back over here at 1 o'clock for our next interview. Thanks again, Joyce, for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.